3, 2, it's time for Clubhouse Chatter. Here's Norm Ordez.
All right, we got the last show of the day on this eve of World Series game number 1, and I'm not going to give anybody a score, but we got a pretty exciting game going on right now. Our next guest is Brooklyn Cyclones Manager Tom Gamboa. Tom, how you doing?
Hey, Norm. Real good. Just enjoying watching the World Series here in my living room. This will be the end of baseball for the fall, and I think it's going to be a photo finish.
My prediction is the Mets in 6, but hey, I mean, if it goes 7, I'm cool with that. I like the Royals. I like the Mets. I've never really been a Mets fan, but I really like what they're doing in New York right now. Great pitching. They've got some great position players. And how can you not like what Daniel Murphy is doing? I mean, that guy right now is Superman.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only thing that I can recall that's similar to what Murphy's done is when Carlos Beltran went off a few years back, and of course, I think he homered in 5 games in a row, and Murphy just broke the record, and that playoff series got Beltran a huge contract with the New York Mets. But Murphy is a great guy, and he was hurt and didn't open the season with the Mets due to a leg injury, and he was with us. I was running the extended spring program, and a very humble guy, a class guy, a guy that would take the time to help the young Latin kids that were down in extended spring. And if you knew him, he's the type of guy you really pull for, because he's just all about team and very feisty, competitive guy. And boy, he sure has gotten hot at the right time.
He has, and he's up for a contract, and and there was talk about the Mets not giving him one. But I mean, hey, how can he not? If he continues to perform the way he's doing, I mean, how can he not?
Well, that's a good question, and that's why I'm glad I'm not a front office person, because you can't fault the players when free agency comes up. The only way to take advantage of it, even though their loyalty is with a given team, is by going free agent. They get to see what they're worth on the open market.
Right.
And I feel fortunate that I grew up in the '60s, and in the '60s, you mentioned Carl Yastrzemski. You thought Boston Red Sox, Mickey Mantle, New York Yankees, and now we're in an era where when a guy goes into the Hall of Fame, you don't even know which hat he's going to wear because he's been with so many teams. But that's just a reflection of free enterprise and the era that we're living in now.
So now you have spent time in the Royals organization. So how does this work so you're currently employed by the Mets, but you've also spent time in the Royals. So you got to kind of be torn here a little bit.
Yeah, I was telling my friends on the golf course the other day that I've worked for 11 different teams over my career, and ironically, 3 of the 4 that were in the finals. I was the third base coach with the Cubs in the late 90s, and then I was the first base coach at Kansas City in the early 2000s. And now currently, in fact, just this morning, I agreed to work for the Mets for a third year next year, managing their farm team in Brooklyn. So somehow I missed the Blue Jays, but I just think that it's great for baseball and for baseball fans, because you've got the Mets haven't been in the playoffs in, I think it's 9 or 10 years. They haven't won since '86. The Royals haven't won since '85. The Cubs, it's been over 100 years, and for those 3 teams to be 3 of the last 4, I think is a real shot in the arm to baseball, showing the competitive balance and what you could accomplish with camaraderie and a certain style of play. Watching the Royals last year against the Giants, I think the whole country got caught up in Kansas. And they're just a very exciting team to watch. And, we are loaded with pitching. And certainly when Sandy Alderson made that, last-minute deal before the deadline to get Cespedes, that just completely turned our ball club around offensively, and we became a force. And so here we are in the series.
And you could throw the Blue Jays in the mix because they hadn't won, since 95, I think. And so, the 4 finalists, baseball's in a great place right now. I'm excited as a baseball fan for the Cubs, because they're on that cusp. They're on that doorstep. Great young talent. They need a couple of pieces. You've got the Mets with those arms. Oh, my gosh. Those guys, they've got so many guys that throw so hard. And they just keep coming and coming. And the minor leagues are still loaded for the Mets. They got more guys coming.
Yeah, that's what it's funny, during the season I have some close friends that are Met fans, and when Noah Syndergaard came up and threw a masterpiece against the Cubs in Wrigley Field on national TV, I had people calling me going, "Oh my God, this guy is phenomenal." And I said, "Well, as good as he is, we got another guy that's just as good that'll be the next one coming up." And they said, "That's impossible." And a month later, Steven Matz came up from Vegas and made his debut and got 3 hits, including a home run, and threw a shutout. So, there's something about the Mets, and certainly it's a credit to their scouting system, that from the days of Seaver and Koosman and Matlack right through to present day, they have a knack for getting quality arms and developing them, because as you alluded to, the farm system, we're so loaded with pitching. There's more guys like this that are coming in the near future.
Oh yeah, and Syndergaard, we got a chance to watch him because he was a Blue Jays guy. He was in the Blue Jays organization, so we got to watch him up here with pitch for Vancouver when he came into Salem Kaiser, and of course he was dealt to the Mets, and it's crazy on just. Baseball is in a great place. And then you got a guy, like Michael Conforto, who is a legend here in Oregon, played at Oregon State. And what kind of player? He played for you in Brooklyn last year. What kind of player is he? How the ceiling is high on him.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody in the Northwest, as they should be, is sky high on Michael Conforto. And not only is he a gifted baseball player, but his parents should be so proud, because they could not have raised a finer person. I've been doing this a long time, and sometimes you see number 1 picks come in to the game, and they're a little too full of themselves. Their arrogance level can rub their teammates and sometimes the coaching staff the wrong way. But this is a humble kid. This is his personality from day one. With the blacks, the whites, the Latins, there's something about his personality that everybody gravitates to, and he gravitates to them, and it's totally genuine. And he is all about team. And I kept wondering if the Mets were going to just have him spend a little time with us and then move him on, because his bat was certainly advanced for that level, but because he had signed late and we were in a pennant race, they left him at Brooklyn for the full season, and he hit, I think he hit 331 in like 170 at bats, and he did everything as advertised. But beyond that, we were led to believe, or at least I was, that he was really good offensively, but he was just adequate defensively. And that was far from the case. He played a real good left field and had a strong, accurate arm. And the only thing at all that you could knock Michael for, and in the big leagues, they're putting another player in for defense for him late, and not so much for the defense, but he does not run good. That's the only skill that he's a heavy-legged guy. And so when they put Lagares in and move Cespedes over to left, it's so that they've got more range out there. But just a terrific person, a terrific player, and what a future he's got.
The Mets' future is bright.
Mm-hmm.
And, they come out of nowhere. Well, I shouldn't say they came out of nowhere. Everybody, for the most part, was picking the Nationals to win the National League East.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody talked about the Mets, that they can be good. They've got all these tools. They got the pitching. And it all came together this year. What is there? A main clubhouse guy, a leader on Was it the Cespedes trade that bringing him in? And I mean, what was it? What was the turning point of the season for him?
Well, I think it was a gradual build-up. You know, the first half of the season, we were amongst the bottom 5 teams in baseball in offensive production. I saw a stat where we were averaging like 3.1 runs per game. And, of course, David Wright, who's the captain of the team and a huge presence in the clubhouse and on the field, and the longest tenured New York Met. His absence was a bit, that hurt. But when you look at as that season went on and Syndergaard came up, and then Matz came up, which deepened the rotation, and then Wright came back and joined the club. As I mentioned, Murphy was not with the team for the first month. His presence, and then the glue that brought it all together was right at the trade deadline when we got Cespedes, along with Uribe and Johnson, 2 nice filler pieces, experienced guys to come off the bench, a left and right-hand hitter, and then Cespedes put in the heart of the lineup that took the pressure off other people and kind of extended the lineup. We went to a point where we were averaging 6 runs a game, and then we went from like 5 behind Washington to taking like an 8-game lead. I mean, it was just a dramatic turnaround. And then, behind Murphy's hot bat, we've just been just a tremendous force all through the playoffs against the Dodgers and Cubs. So it's been fun to watch, and it's been fun to be a small part of it. Having managed Conforto, I get a kick out of seeing a guy that a year ago was in college and playing rookie ball in Brooklyn, and now he's playing left field in the World Series.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
It's interesting. You talk about, the clubhouse presence, and, people talk about the Dodgers, and the Dodgers have a great roster, but they are missing, I think that they are missing those key components in the clubhouse. You look at the Giants, you look at on how they're built and stuff. They don't always have the best teams, but they've got great clubhouse guys. You look at the Mets, David Wright, huge in the clubhouse, and they bring in a couple of other guys, Kelly Johnson and Uribe for the Latino ball players. You look at the Royals, and it's the same thing. I mean, as a manager, how important is it to having a guy like David Wright in the clubhouse?
Oh, it's huge. I know I've managed at every level in the minor leagues in 10 years of winter ball, and I've always tried to pick out one player that I know that everybody gravitates around to make the captain, and because that way I'm sure that I have a leadership presence to extend my message even when I'm not around within the clubhouse ranks. So a perfect example, 10 years ago I managed the Angels AA team in Arkansas, where that whole team ended up going to the big leagues. Kendrys Morales was my first baseman, who happens to be playing in this World Series now. But the key guy on that team was Mike Napoli. And you could see it at the AA level, the presence that he had in the clubhouse and the way people gravitated to him. And now you look at his career, what's happened in 10 years since then. He's he's been on division championships with the Angels. He's been to a World Series with Texas, and he's been on a World Series winner with the Boston Red Sox. I mean, that kind of follows him around. And you need that. You need somebody, the glue that's going to hold people together. And if you don't have that, as you alluded to, the Dodgers in the past, I read a comment by Mattingly last year where he admitted that the one big piece missing from their team was that there was no glue, and the chemistry of the 25 players was not a good mix.
And that's important, and that's what, the Giants, with me being as close to them as I am, 3 World Series titles in 5 years, that's what they've had. And it's huge. And, the Dodgers are close. They really are close. And so baseball, so you chatted a little bit about managing in winter ball. So talk a little bit about the difference between the winter ball and playing stateside here. Playing in the Latin ball, the Latin countries, it's a little bit different.
Oh, it's completely different, and it's something that over the course of my career, I've been a big proponent for winter ball. I've always felt that every manager, player, coach, umpire should spend at least 1 year in winter ball to prepare for the big leagues, because nothing that minor league baseball does, from rookie league to AAA, nothing prepares you for what it's going to be like in the big leagues when you go into New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, where when you're not successful, you're going to face antagonism from the stands. You see, in AAA, if a guy fails, if he makes the game-losing error, you get a polite golf clap from the fans. But I've often told people that if they've ever been to Latin America, you turn on a World Cup soccer event with the bongos going and the noise in the stands, the intensity level from the opening minute to the end, that's what a winter league baseball game is like in Puerto Rico, the Dominican, Mexico, and Venezuela. For your listeners that aren't in tune, during our winter, when this World Series is over, literally in about another week is when the major league seasons of baseball in those 4 Latin countries, that's when they start playing. And so it puts a lot of pressure on players, because although players may go down to develop, in those countries they never want to hear the word development. It's all about winning, and winning all the time. And so I think it's a great way to prepare yourself mentally to be able to handle the adversity you're going to have in the big league cities, particularly New York, Chicago, and Philly. I mean, those, and I can throw Boston in that mix too. So it's very interesting, very interesting.
That is on my bucket list of baseball things to do, is to go to a Caribbean World Series. And so my baseball season lasts all year. I mean, once Major League Baseball is over, that's when I'll go on a Spanish-speaking site and I'll watch baseball. I'll watch the Australian Winter League on MLB, .com. But it's great baseball. I don't understand hardly anything, but it's great baseball, because they're playing for the pride of their country.
That's right.
In the end, in February, that second week of February, when they get together in one of those Latin American countries and they're wearing Dominican Republic or Mexico or Venezuela across their chest, and that now you're bringing Cuba into the mix again. Mm-hmm. They're playing for pride. They're playing for country pride. Mm-hmm. And it's a whole different world.
Yep. So it's very, very exciting. Very exciting. While I'm thinking of it, Norm, on a different note, because I thought this was very intriguing. I happened to be talking to our office yesterday in New York, and I was told that Michael Conforto is one of only 3 players in history that has played in a Little League World Series, a College World Series, and now, as of tonight, in the real World Series. I mean, what an achievement!
Yeah.
I'm surprised there's even one, let alone 3 guys.
Well, and I think
that have played in all 3 of those venues.
I could name one of those others. The other one was, he played with Jason Varitek was one of them. And
really?
Jason Varitek was one of them, and I can't remember the third, but he played early on, probably in the 60s, maybe 70s. But yeah, I know Jason Varitek was one and Conforto was the other. And then the Royals today, they added, which is a really odd move, they added Raul Mondesi Jr. to their World Series roster. And now, if he plays in the World Series, he'll be the first player ever to make his Major League debut in the World Series.
No, I wasn't aware of that. I saw where he was added to the roster, and having coached and managed against Raul I haven't yet to see his son play, but I've heard terrific things about him.
Right.
And of course, Raul was I was fortunate to see Raul when he was at the A-ball level, and then coach against him in the big leagues. I was with the Cubs when he was with the Dodgers, and I hear that his son is just, like Raul, is basically a gifted 5-tool player that can do everything.
How exciting is that?
Yeah, I mean, to have a son 20 years old and that they think high enough of him that he's developed enough to play on this stage in the World Series. That says a lot for his mental makeup as well as his physical ability.
Ed Vosberg was the third player, by the way.
Oh my gosh, the left-handed pitcher from University of Arizona.
Yep.
That's well good. I didn't know who the other two were, but that's interesting.
So there you go. So Ed Vosberg, Michael Conforto, and Jason Varitek, the only three to play in a Little League World Series, College World Series, and the Major League World Series. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So now, when you were as a coach, when you were coaching, with the parent clubs, did you ever make it to a World Series?
No. The in '98 with the Cubs, we had a one-game playoff with the Giants to get into the playoffs, much like the Cubs did this year. In fact, when I watched that game, I brought all those memories back. The Cubs had a one-game playoff with the Pirates, which they won. And Steve Traxel, for us in '98, pitched the game of his life and beat the Giants in Wrigley. And unfortunately, we got swept in 3 straight by the Braves. But at least we did get to the playoffs. So I got to experience it once in my career at that level.
So, well, here's to the Mets winning the World Series. So my prediction is the Mets in 6. I think I'm excited for this World Series. If the Royals beat them, I'm not going to cry about it. But I hope the Mets win and you get that ring. And so how was your season in Brooklyn this year?
Well, you just called it. The Mets just had 2-1, so I hope you're right, Norm. Granderson just hit one out as we're speaking.
Nice.
Well, ironically, our season in Brooklyn, we led the league in pitching and ERA. So right on down to our level, it continues with the Mets. We really had dominant pitching, but unfortunately, we didn't have anybody that could hit. We actually had 4 of our 9 starters in the lineup did not hit 200 this year.
Wow.
And some of those kids have already been released. I'm getting to an age where the kids today, they don't know what the Mendoza line is.
Yep.
From days gone by when, Mario Mendoza, as good a fielder as he was, he became infamous in the game because he established the Mendoza line, which was 200. But, like I said, we had 4 guys that literally played every day and did not even hit 200. So Scoring runs was real difficult for us. So we ended up 33 and 43. So win-loss wise, it was not a good year, but development wise, once again in terms of the pitching, it was just outstanding. And I don't know how the Mets do it, but they got more on the way.
So our previous guest was Trace Layer, who played with the Oakland A's in their farm system. He played for Vermont this year, and he was telling us how hard it was to play in Brooklyn because the batter's eye, to the left of the batter's eye, you've got the roller coaster. He said that, he remembers focusing to the ball, the roller coaster is going up, and then when the ball is delivered, the roller coaster is going down and everybody's screaming. How tough of a place is playing in Brooklyn?
Well, it's he brings up a good point. See, when you play there every day, as we do, you get used to it. But I do know, because other managers have told me how distracting and difficult it is to come into our park. Because Brooklyn, from day one in 2001. In all 15 years, they have led the league in attendance and led it by far. I mean, it's an event for people that if they're not familiar with Brooklyn. I think everybody's heard of the famous Coney Island and the Coney Island roller coaster. And our ballpark is built right on the property of Coney Island, and they've got 6 roller coasters, and the newest one is literally right behind the left and center field fence. So every 3 minutes, every 3 minutes it's going on, and it's it can be distracting to the fans and certainly to the other team because they're more caught up in what's going on off the field than what is going on the field. Not to mention the fact that most of the other teams in the league will draw maybe 1,000 to 3,000 people, and we average close to 7,000 people a night.
Nice.
So I mean, it's a state-of-the-art stadium. It's a sunken diamond with AstroTurf. It's really beautiful, and from the stands, you can see the Atlantic Ocean is behind the right field fence, and so I mean, aesthetically, it's beautiful, but it can be distracting for the visiting teams, no question about it.
So on my iPhone, my background picture is a sunset from your stadium. I can't remember where I picked it up from, but it's probably one of the most beautiful baseball pictures I've ever seen, and it's got, the lights in the background of the amusement park and stuff like that. It is just absolutely gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. Well, Fred Wilpon, who owns the New York Mets, he also owns the Brooklyn franchise. So, I mean, when he built the stadium, knowing that there would be diehard Brooklyn Dodger fans from the old days, he did everything first class. And the skyboxes, and I mean, at this stage of my career, there couldn't be a more fun place to manage at because you're in New York in the summertime, and Coney Island, my gosh, the amusement park in the summertime stays open till 3 a.m.
Oh wow!
So it's almost like Vegas. It's just a city that never sleeps. And it's funny because on Friday nights, win, lose, or draw, the fireworks go off on the beach next to the amusement park right at 10 o'clock. So our GM does everything he can to get the game over with because it is distracting to be playing a game and being in the 8th or 9th inning, and all of a sudden at 10 o'clock the fireworks are going off, which then distracts everybody from the game, So, yeah, there's a lot going on.
So once again, Mr. Tom Gamboa. Tom, thank you for coming on the show. It's always a pleasure having you, and let's do this again soon.
Sure, Norm. Enjoyed talking to you and your listeners, and let's all enjoy the World Series and go Mets.
That's right. Go Mets. All right, Tom, thank you very much.
Thanks. Okay, bye-bye.
So I have witnessed the fireworks thing like that before. It's crazy, having to worry about that and just, but that's minor league baseball.
It's awesome. It makes it fun. It really does.
I kind of want to go to Brooklyn and catch a game. I want to see the roller coaster going down. That'd be kind of cool.
We're going to have to take a lot of time off this summer.
Yes.
We've got a couple trips planned now.
We are working. We are working on bringing Clubhouse Chatter to the masses going on tour. So we'll see, hopefully. I'm Norm. That is producer Brian. We are sponsored by, got the Base by Pros, Mitch Canham, building an athlete's sports education. His dad, MDM Designs, Mark Canham. Got a hoodie and got some shirts available. If you'd like one, let me know. I could hook you up. I can get you into a shirt for about $12 to $13 and a hoodie for about $25 to $30. So get in touch. Baseballisms.com. Got the childhood cancer hat on. Check them out. Great guys up there. Got some great product. Also, baseballdudes.com. Chris Gazelle up there in Vancouver. To be the best, you must train like the best. MDM Design, Mark Cannon once again. Brian has thrown me some curveballs here. We stream live, yamhilltoday.com. Brian, Max at home this week. What do you got for us?
Well, it's going to be a tough game. Grizzlies are going to win the Pigeon Bowl and win 4 in a row. I don't know if they'll make it to the playoffs, though. It doesn't look very good right now.
How many more? Is this the final game of the year?
This is it. Final game of the year. Grizzlies, Forest Grove, Friday night.
35-28.
Forest Grove.
McMinnville.
I'd like to see that. I hope it happens. Don't know if it's going to happen, though. We'll see.
And tell us a little bit about your show.
YST, Yamhill Sports Today, Saturday morning. We're going to talk everything from Oregon State, all the Pac-12. We're going to talk Linfield. Of course, Linfield, the big victory over the other undefeated team.
Big victory.
They squeaked it out 52-10. And then we'll talk maybe some baseball, some World Series with you, I hope.
That works for me.
So we'll do that, and then we'll just kind of figure out what's going on in the sports world and wrap it all up and give you a highlight of what happened with Newburgh and McMinnville football, and then let you go on your Saturday and watch some football.
Check us out, Clubhouse Chatter. We're on Twitter, Clubhouse Chatter 1T. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on iTunes, YouTube. We are now on MLBblogs.com. Check us out there. Hey, if you're looking to sponsor a show, why not Clubhouse Chatter? Shoot me an email, normbo18@gmail.com. Everybody have a great week. Go Mets. And I got my rain gear for this weekend.
You're going to need it.
Last day of soccer for McMinnville Parks and Rec.
Nice.
I'm going to be floating down in a boat.
It'll be fun.
All right. Thanks for watching.